All right, welcome to this video where this is the first piece of content that we're going to add into the community. And this is going to be, since this community is about Henry's Lab, it's really about being the master of your own lab, which is your life, which is the place of your creation and development. And so the first thing you need to do is understand how to become a master. And the first place you become a master is in knowing who you are, your core identity, who your very being is, right? And that consists of three things. Because we as humans exist on three planes. We have three planes on which we exist, right? And I'm not talking about airplanes. I'm talking about planes as in dimensions, right? We exist on the spirit plane, we exist on the soul plane, and we exist on the physical plane, right, or the natural plane. And so the first thing we're going to kind of go into is we're going to break up what these planes are, what they consist of each, and why it's so important, and how you can get clarity on each of these areas, right? So the first plane we're going to talk about is the spirit plane. Why? Because the spirit plane is the core, the essence, the very being of who you are. At the most in-depth place is your spirit being, right? So your spirit comes from God because we were all created by God, right? So what your spirit plane consists of is your morals, your ethics, and your standards, right? And these three make up your belief system. What you believe is right, what you believe is wrong, what you believe is ethical, what you believe is unethical, etc., etc. And so, in order to get clear on that, you have to have your relationship to God and what you believe truth is. Now, I follow Christ Jesus, and I'm a follower of Yahweh, and so I understand what truth is, right? Now, you may have a different belief system, and that's perfectly fine, but understand everything that I talk about, everything that I speak about, and everything that I've learned comes from the teachings of Yahweh and what He has taught me in my personal relationship with Him, as well as in the Word through His Scripture, the Holy Bible. So, with that said, you don't have to adapt to the same belief system I have, and I'm not trying to impose my belief system on you. In fact, that's the furthest thing I'm trying to do. What I do is just be an example of what He has done in my life to be able to attract that truth in you and when you desire it. So, to get clear of what your spirit plane is, you have to know what in your mind you have to determine beforehand, right, or predetermine what is right, what your boundaries are, what you will do, what you won't do, what's respect for you, what's disrespectful to you, what your standards of living are as far as morals, your ethics, your integrity, the way you handle yourself, the way integrity with your relationship with yourself as well as with others. Because understand your spirit, who the core of what you believe, who you believe you are, in the sense of your standards, morals, and ethics, is the character, the foundational character on which everything else of who you are is built, right? And so, at the core of it, my belief standards, my standards of belief, my belief system is, the character of love, right? And you can check my YouTube for a video I did already on the character of love, and I don't think we're going to cover that in this video because this is a little extensive. It's a little extensive for this particular content. This video is specifically about how to get clarity on those three planes of existence. So your morals, right? You have to know what you believe is right, what you believe is wrong, what you'll be okay with, what you won't be okay with, etc. Your ethics, again, in your dealings with people, how your integrity, making sure your word is your bond, that what you say you're gonna do, you do, and what you say you're not gonna do, you don't do, right? And your morals, your moral compass, your belief system, what you believe, who you believe God is, and what you believe about God. Now, if you read the Word of God, the Bible, you understand that at its core, God, the Creator, is a God of love. Right now, part of love in His character is justice, right? Being righteous and being just. Those are topics for another video. But right now, understand the following: the core of who God is love. Right now, love doesn't mean soft. It doesn't mean weak. Um, it doesn't mean that it's trampling. That it's easy it doesn't mean you're a pushover, right? In fact, real love, true love, and the character of love is protective. It's strong, right? And sometimes it's even step on your toes to let with care how that there's something that you need to correct, right? So that's that character, that's those standards with which you are going to live, with which you measure yourself and all relationships and people that you interact with. That is your standard of living, right? And Christ is the ultimate example of the character of love, of God's love. And so if you want to get an example of the standard of that character, study the life of Jesus. Now remember, I said love isn't always soft and gentle. You can see that by the way Jesus interacted with the Pharisees. Right now, and this would be some maybe I have make another video about how Jesus treated people. And that's kind of like a question that could cause some conflict amongst folks. So we'll cover that in another video. But for now, understand that to get clarity in your spirit, you have to be clear on what you stand for as far as your morals, your standards, your ethics, your belief system. You have to be clear on on what is compatible with you, because if you're not clear on what your truth is, or on what truth is your understanding of what truth is as far as where you're at now, then it's going to be really hard for you to find relationships that are going to be complementary to that belief system. Now understand, you know, truth doesn't mind being challenged. Lies do. So if you can't have an open conversation about your belief system, now I'm not saying you're going to waver on what's right and what's wrong. That should be a standard built in written in stone, right? Because if you compromise your belief system, then you lack integrity, right? If you're willing to do something you're not supposed to because nobody's looking at the moment, then I would say you're not standing on integrity. So you have to understand that, and the purpose behind one of the purposes behind getting this clarity is one of the reasons people have so much frustration in life and so much anxiety is because they're involved in relationships, including friendships and acquaintances that are conflictive with what they believe to be right and true. And so you can't have a close relationship with people who are conflicting or who cause anxiety or stress in you, because their behavior, their belief systems, and how they treat people completely contradicts what you believe in. Now, with that said, you don't have to have everybody of the same belief system around you, but the character, the growth, the maturity of an individual with which they speak and which they communicate and the way they interact with folks is going to let you know that, if they're not trying to impose or force upon you their belief system, and they're not trying to get you to compromise what you believe in, then, they're not trying to get you to do something that you believe is wrong, then you can have that relationship. But understand this, for the ultimate acceleration for your progress and for your growth is you want people who are in line. They don't have to have the same belief system 100%, but if at the core values they are aligned, then those relationships can help you catapult towards your purpose that you're planning on fulfilling, right? So that's the first plane, the plane of existence of your spirit. You want to get clear on your morals, your standards, and your ethics, right? Second plane of existence, again, and I'm not talking about airplanes right here, I'm talking about the planes as dimensions of life that you exist on, is the soul plane, right? And I'm not talking about soul plane like the movie. I'm talking about the dimension of the soul on which you and I both exist, and which we all exist really. And the soul plane consists of two things, or it's actually three. So it consists of the intellect as well as the emotional, right? And those two result in your will. Understand the following, right? The core and essence of who you are is your spirit. That's the foundation of your character, what you believe right and wrong is, right? From there, you've got your intellectual interest and your emotional interest, which create the will that you have to accomplish something, right? That determine your will or your willingness to do a thing that is in line with those morals, standards, and ethics, as well as your interest on the intellectual and the emotional plane. So, what does all of that wordage mean? And that just means one of the things to understand is that humans, as humans, and in nature, really in general, what you see is that we were all designed for continual growth, right? You in life, you're either progressing or you're regressing or digressing. You are not. There's no point of stagnation, no point of being stale. You either progress towards life or you regress towards death. There's no medium point. And so part of that means we have to create part of that growth consists of what we know, right? The things, the skills we want to learn, the knowledge we want to gain, and the experiences we want to have. Understanding that the more value you add to your life through knowledge, skills, and experiences, the more valuable you are, to your community and to society in general, because you can add value to the lives of others because of that knowledge, skills, and experience. So you want to get clarity on the intellectual interest that you have. Now, understand again, throughout your life, things are going to change. You're going to grow. You're going to become a different person. But you have to start with where you're at right now. What's interesting to you right now? What languages would you like to speak? What skills would you like to develop? Would you like to develop? Do you want to learn how to, do computer programming? Do you want to learn how to, be a better speaker? Do you want to learn how to become more effective in your communication? You want to be, a singer, a songwriter, a musician? Do you want to become a scientist? You want to learn all these, physics and so forth. These are all things that you can learn. And what kind of experiences do you want to have? Do you want to go out into the woods? Do you want to do some survival scenario practicing, get your bushcraft skills? All these kind of things. These are intellectual interests that you can develop to have additional skill sets and knowledge to add value to the lives of others. Now, on the emotional side of it, where you want to know, you have to predetermine what you're going to, I don't want to say tolerate, what you're going to, the expectation that you have for the people you surround yourself with in the area of emotions. What that means is basically you've got two choices in life, right? You can either be driven by your emotions or you can drive your emotions. And here's what I mean by that. People who are driven by their emotions allow their emotions to influence everything, to lead them, right? And we know that emotions are very, unstable, very volatile. They're easily manipulated. And so that doesn't make a good driver. Character, which is again the core of who you are on your spirit, is what drives you towards the success that you desire to see and the things you desire to acquire and become. So on the emotional level, basically, it can be really summarized in the following way. You're the standard you accept for the person's emotional maturity. So, for example, you ought to understand is that yes, okay, we didn't grow up in a perfect life. Yes, our parents may have made mistakes. Yes, things have happened. We had traumatic experiences, but it's your choice to do either be the victim or be the victor. So you have to decide. You're gonna extract value from those experiences and learn lessons that you can apply to your life now, so those mistakes aren't repeated, or are you gonna become bitter and blame people and stay right where you're at and not grow? See, because growth only occurs where there is resistance. And here's what that means: dealing with issues, our emotional issues, and our faults, character flaws is a challenge because the emotions are the seat of the ego. And so the ego wants to lead, the ego wants to drive, the ego wants everything for me, right? Whereas once you understand that you have to put that ego aside, you put that ego second, or actually you put the ego last, and you put you put your growth into for service towards others first, then you understand, okay, you know what? I can't blame the finger. The blame's all on me, as the song says. I'm responsible for my emotional responses and reactions, and note the difference there. Reaction and response are two different things. If you react, that means you're not thinking. You're just reacting from an emotional point of spot. It's an emotional reaction, which means it's a spur of emotion. Whereas responding is not instant. It's taking time. It's thinking. It's processing things. Right. It's getting through whatever the issue is versus just blurting that out of emotion. And so it's important to understand that your standard for your emotion, for the emotional aspect of your soul plane, ought to be what I call the apprentice attitude. And here's what that means: that obviously, like I said earlier, life is a continual process of learning and growth. And so when you understand that and you really grab a hold of that, you become less judgmental, you become more graceful, you become more merciful towards people because you understand that you're not perfect either. But your maturity, the way you respond, is determined completely by you. And so you have to have control over the reins of your emotions versus your emotions having the reins of your life. Right. And so understanding. So if people aren't in line with being responsible for their own emotions in their own life and the results that they're achieving now, you might not want to have them in your life, or at least not so close, right? So that's the second thing you want to get clear on. You want to get clear on your spirit, on your soul plane, right? And the result of those two things aligned with your with the influence of your character, of your spirit, are what exercise, how you exercise your will. And so the third plane is the physical plane, the natural plane, right? And this is consists of two main areas. One is the activity level of your life, as well as the fiscal standard of your living. So activity level means how active of a life do you want to live? Some people, like me, love being outdoors. Maybe you like being in the woods. Maybe you like going camping as well. Maybe you like fishing. Maybe you like traveling around the world. Maybe you want to visit different places all over the world. You want to be a digital nomad, or you want to move a place, be there for 3 months, integrate with the culture, and then move to another country, integrate with the culture for 2 or 3 months, and then move to another country, and so on and so forth. Whereas other folks like to have stability, if you want to put in quotation marks, because what that means is they want to be in one place and they want to stay there their whole lives, their whole lives, and so that's going to be incompatible if you got somebody who wants to be a rolling stone per se and somebody who wants to be a solid rock. It's kind of hard because this person's when they're at home, the adventurer is going to feel trapped, like they're caged, and when they're on adventure or they're out traveling, the person who wants stability is going to feel like they have no control, like their life is in chaos because there's no roots, as they say in some instances, right? So you want to be clear on the activity level that you want to have. Also, if you have someone who is, into sports and being physically fit and, going to the gym and working out and getting strong, that's not necessarily the most compatible thing for a person who's a couch potato who likes to just watch TV all day, who wants to just, sit in bed, sleep as much as they can. That's not necessarily going to work out the best. Now, it can, but honestly, it's not ideal for either one of them. So you want to get clarity on how active of a lifestyle, how active you want to be in your lifestyle. Now, again, remember, in life, you'll change, you'll grow, things will progress. And so maybe you want to be very active right now, but in the future, maybe you want to not be so active, right? But keep in mind that you want to get clarity for what you want right now in the long term vision, understanding that long term vision might change. But having that clarity for now is what's going to get you going towards that, where you can eventually pivot and make changes if you desire. And then the second aspect of your physical plane is your fiscal well-being. In other words, your finances, right? Some people are okay working a 9 to 5, having getting by paycheck to paycheck, just barely getting by, paying, a little bit food, a little bit of, the bills are paid, etc. And that's fine. Other folks, like myself, want to be able to enjoy the finer things in life. We want to be able to travel free when we desire. We want to be able to, like you may want to, you want to have experiences. And here's the thing: just because you want to earn and live a lifestyle of abundance and wealth doesn't make you materialistic. In fact, I would wager to say it makes you less materialistic than someone who just goes to a job 9 to 5 and just barely makes enough to get by and barely has enough to barely even sustain themselves and their family. Whereas someone who has determined to generate wealth for their family so that they can buy back their time to be able to live and enjoy more experiences with the ones they love and even themselves, that's a person who's focused. While they might seem, while it might be times of focus to while they produce, in the long term, they're going to get much more out of life, much more better experiences out of life, and have much more wonderful relationships than someone who could be, who's in a bad attitude because they're always in debt and because the bills are barely stressing them out and the work sucks and all their coworkers, they hate their coworkers. So you got to get clear on the life standard of lifestyle you want to live. If you're someone who's okay being mediocre, maybe getting with someone who has, a big dream isn't the best idea for you. And if you're someone who's a big dreamer, maybe getting with someone who has, who's conforming to mediocrity isn't the best place for you. And so you got to understand, because what's going to happen is the lifestyle and the standard you expect to live is going to determine the relationships of the people that you interact with, right? It's the level of person, the level of character, the level of people that you interact with. So people who have big visions oftentimes make people who are mediocre uncomfortable because of the way they speak, because of the vision and the purpose and the impact they want to have. And likewise, people who who are okay living a paycheck to paycheck job often make big dreamers uncomfortable because they feel like they're limiting them and they're squeezing them into a box, and oftentimes they feel like don't you want to get more out of life, right? So it's important that you get clear on these things for a couple of reasons. One, because once you have clarity on all three of these planes, it's going to make your life so much simpler, because it's going to make, because now you have kind of like a measuring map, right? Or a measuring tool with which to measure all of your relationships and all of your decisions on. Is it in line with this? Yes. Okay, cool. Is it not in line with this? No. Okay, sorry. No hard feelings, but be on your way. I'm not going to be a benefit to you in your life, right? And so it makes decisions really simple once you have this clarity. Not only that, it helps you focus your attention on the relationships to where you can genuinely be of value to people. Because again, someone who dreams big is not going to necessarily be of value to someone who only has small vision. They can be, but more often than not, they're going to cause frustration for that person, frustration in themselves because because they believe this person ought to be able to do more stuff, and then irritation to the other person because the other person is like, "What are you talking? Leave me alone. I'm fine where I'm at," right? And so having clarity on these three planes of existence is step number one to your personal transformation. And so I hope this was of value. Let me know in the comments below which one of these three planes you need clarity on most right now. And we'll see if in the group we can help and encourage you to get that clarity so you can start catapulting your progress towards the transformation that you desire. And so see you next time.